Hey everyone, Z-Slayer Dre here, and today I want to talk about features that would be amazing to see in the PS5. Last year, Sony CEO Kenichiro Yoshida went on record to the Wall Street Journal saying that the PS5 will, quote, focus on hardcore gamers who obsess over the latest features. Overall, I think if they actually follow through with this, it'll be a great move, and it will appease the hardcore gaming crowd, and more casual players will only benefit. Or at worst, just ignore the features, not to mention all the goodwill it will get Sony with the media for implementing all the features. The problem is, I don't think they will actually do anything of the sort. I think it was just something that sounds nice and got them some headlines when it was said. Also, there's a little bit of a power struggle going on with Sony, so some things may be up in the air, you never know. While I know this is almost pure fantasy, for fun, I just wanted to put together a list of things that Sony should implement in the PS5 if they actually care about pleasing the hardcore gamers. Not to mention, they're competing with PC, and they need to put some really interesting features into the PS5 if they want to lure PC players away from the PC and to the PlayStation brand. Sony has been fairly tight-lipped about any details about the PS5 so far, and only have given us breadcrumbs to work with. The biggest announced feature is the SSD, which really was an absolute must. I couldn't imagine them releasing a new console in 2020 without using an SSD, something PC gamers have been enjoying for years. Mark Cerny also said that the PS5 will be backwards compatible with PS4 games, which really needed to be done considering how big some people's PS4 libraries are. I know mine is just gigantic at this point, so I'll talk more about that later in the video. And that's all we really know outside of some controller features. So let's go into what Sony should add to the PS5 if they actually want to appeal to hardcore gamers. They have said that there's more exciting features yet to be announced, so it's possible that some of these will be implemented. Who knows? And I do want to stress this is purely for fun and not based off of any rumors I've heard. So the first thing is the size of the SSD. So one of the few confirmed details about the PS5 is that it will have an SSD, and that is supposedly faster than anything available for PC, or at least according to Mark Cerny anyways. Well, this is great news. One thing that hasn't been announced, and that is very important, is the size of the SSD. At bare minimum, the SSD needs to be 2 terabytes, but honestly, it should be 3 if not 4. I'm worried that it will be 1 terabyte, but maybe 1.5, we'll have to see. But this would be really bad news considering how large games are now. I recently re-downloaded Red Dead Redemption 2, and it was just over 100 terabytes, which is just absolutely insane. Not to mention, it always gets new updates, and it will just keep getting bigger and bigger. I have a PS4 Pro, which comes with a 1 terabyte hard drive, but remember, you don't actually get the full 1 terabyte. It's more like 860 gigabytes from what I've seen. This means that Red Dead Redemption 2 is taking up almost 12% of my hard drive alone. While I know this is an extreme case, next generation, the games are just going to get bigger and bigger. And most AAA titles I own now are in the 60-80 gigabyte range, and I'm sure that average will just go up. Whenever I get a new game now, I have to play the game, what game will I delete this time to make room for this new game? And it's not a fun game to play. And I know some people will always say you can buy a larger hard drive for your PS4, which is true, but the PS5 will be using a specially developed SSD made by Sony, so I'm not sure if we'll be able to upgrade the hard drive, although I really hope we will be able to. And if we can, most likely it will have to buy a special one made by Sony, and since it's the only one that we'll be able to upgrade with, or at least for some time, I'm sure it will be sold at an overvalued price. And while I know it's very unlikely they will give us anything over 2 terabytes, unless, of course, they may sell multiple SKUs with different sized hard drives. We'll see. I do really hope they give us at least 3 terabytes. I feel like that would be kind of the perfect compromise there. The second thing would be the PS5 needs keyboard and mouse support. And as I said earlier, the PS5 is competing with PC and Xbox, and in order to compete, you need to have the same or better features. Mouse and keyboard support is a no-brainer and really should already be implemented in the PS4. I know a couple of online games have it, but I think it's like around 5 or 6 games. It's very, very not implemented very often. And I know some people are mouse and keyboard purists and some are controller purists, but I'm one of the few that falls into neither category. Some games I prefer to use a mouse and keyboard, and some I prefer to use a controller. On PC, I have the option of using whatever control method depending on the game, and I would really love to see the same option for the PS5. Personally, I need a mouse and a keyboard for shooters and strategy games, while I really prefer a controller for pretty much everything else. I know the new DualShock 5 will have haptic feedback, which on paper sounds great, but even with that, I would still prefer to have a mouse and a shooter because I can't hit the broadside of a planet with a DualShock 4. For me, I think it's the symmetrical sticks. I have a much easier time with an Xbox One controller, but everyone is different, and just having the choice to choose the best control method for each person would be incredible. The third thing I would really hope that they would add or change is that online trophies should have their own list and should not count towards a platinum. This is going to overlap a bit with my next feature, but it's something I felt needed its own spot. Over the past year, I've really gotten into trophy hunting, but I've found online trophies to be the bane of my trophy hunting existence, a feeling I've seen shared by many other trophy hunters as well. So many games have an online mode shoveled into them when there's no business being there, and as a result, they have little to no online community. And now I'm getting flashbacks to when I was getting my platinum for Far Cry 4 last year. Yeah, that was something. Not to mention, you have to get PlayStation Plus, something I would not purchase unless I needed it to trophy hunt. For these games with no online community, you often need to go to multiple forums to find other people that are willing to help you out and actively organize groups to go for certain trophies, which really ruins the fun of trophy hunting, and not to mention can take the challenge away from certain trophies. Also, developers have abused the trophy system to get players to play their game longer, some requiring a huge time sink that is not challenging but just time consuming. They do this because the amount of time played is a big selling point to potential investors and is often reported on at shareholder meetings. It really goes against the spirit of trophy hunting, and it's a shame that it has been kind of perverted in that way. The fourth thing I would absolutely love to be changed in order to appeal to hardcore gamers is trophies should not require buying microtransactions to get to trophies. Now, this is something I know that will not be implemented because it's something Sony itself is guilty of. But I ran into this issue a few times last year while going for a few platinums. It's one of the more disgusting and exploitive things I've seen, and made me take a break from trophy hunting for a few months because I was just so disgusted with it. Thankfully, in both cases, it happened to me. The trophies were on DLC lists separate from the platinum list, but anyone who trophy hunts knows that it's really important to get that 100% completion. I know it sounds crazy, but it's just so nice to see the 100%. And, you know, the platinum is great, but it's nice to get all the DLC stuff. And I don't feel like I need to go into too much explanation here. It's just a really scummy practice, and one that needs to stop immediately. I know of more games than the ones I've played that do this, and it's really sad to see developers so greedy that they feel the need to exploit every single aspect of their game, including trophies. Trophies were supposed to be about adding a fun extra challenge to the game, not about opening your wallet again for a game that you've already paid for. There's no challenge in that. The number 5 wish list feature, whatever I'm calling it now, that I would hope to see Sony add into the PS5 to appeal to hardcore gamers is online features should be free, and PSN needs a drastic upgrade in general. And this partly overlaps with my point about online trophies being separate from platinums, but that's partly because you have to pay for the PlayStation Plus just to get access to multiplayer that is required for most platinum trophy lists. There's also one major other reason though, other than the fact that there's zero reason as to why you should be charged for it, considering when you pay for a game, part of that sale should go towards funding the servers. But the reason is that the PS5 is competing with PC, which requires no subscription to play games outside of MMOs. Again, Sony said they want to appeal to hardcore gamers, and I see this point get brought up time and time again against console gaming. And everyone who makes this point is 100% correct. Why would a PC gamer want to get a console to play games online when they can do so for free on PC? Like I said earlier, I wouldn't have a PlayStation Plus subscription if it wasn't for the online trophies. Even still, I'm pretty sure I won't be renewing my subscription when it runs out in a few months. Not to mention, I've already owned one, if not two, of the monthly games, and I'm not going to call them free games because you do pay for them, but for the past 10 months, I've owned 1 to 2 of them. The February games will be the first time in 10 months that I do not own one of the games that I paid for. It should be that we get to pick maybe 2 from a list of 4 or 5 each month, because as is now, if you own 1 or 2 of the games, you're kind of out of luck. And again, you do pay for them, so kind of getting screwed over. Also, my experience with PSN has been pretty hit or miss. I experience speeds much slower than with any other device in my house, and PSN has gone down more frequently than most other services I've seen. The store is an absolute joke and needs a complete UI and functionality overhaul. I can't tell you how many times I've been browsing through a sale. I'll be a few hundred games deep onto the list, click on a game to check it out, and when I back out to go to see the list again, I have my place reset and I'm back to the top of the list and all my search filters are erased. It's very frustrating, and I've seen other people talk about this issue, and I can't really believe that it hasn't been fixed yet. This isn't really a hardcore gamer thing, it's more of just wanting a semi-functional service. In-game performance is really hit or miss. Some games have been better than others, although Destiny 2, I had a ton of issues, but it was probably more so because of the developers they used to have a hybrid peer-to-peer mixed with the servers. I don't know if they still do that, but I haven't played in a while, but it went down quite frequently when I played it was about 2 years ago. Number 6, PS5 needs to be fully backwards compatible with PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4. Oh man, this is the big one and my personal biggest wish. I'm probably sounding like a broken record at this point, but if they want to appeal to hardcore gamers, this is by far the biggest request by gamers I've seen. Not to mention on PC, I can play games from decades ago. I don't have to dust all my old PCs to play older games. I personally missed out on a lot of great games on the PS3 that haven't been ported to the PS4, and I badly wish I could play them on my newest console. It's a pain to go back to the PS3 and takes up a ton of space, still having all my old consoles around. It would just be too good to be true just to have one console that can play everything. Now I know it's unlikely we'll get anything beyond PlayStation 4 backwards compatibility, which I am happy that they're at least doing, but it would just be so great if we got more. I know Sony and other developers want to perpetually resell the same game each generation with remastered or remake thrown at the end, but I just want to be able to play the original games, and there's no reason why they can't make that a possibility along with some resolution and frame rate improvements. Unless it's a game that the code is stupidly tied to the frame rate, like most of the old Bethesda games. Not going to get into that now. Sony's Jim Ryan is on record saying it's something we asked for but we don't actually want. Just what you would expect out of an out-of-touch executive to say, and one of the most idiotic things I've seen even by an executive standards. Sony is really pushing PlayStation now, with older games making up a huge part of it, and has been selling PS2 classics on PSN. So clearly there's a market for it. Even today I was looking through the PlayStation Now hot games list, and like more than half of them were PlayStation 3 games. Even though they have a ton of PlayStation 4 games, people want to play those PlayStation 3 games. It's not something they can tangibly profit from, so I doubt we'll see it implemented. Although, headlines would be dominated, providing free publicity for a while. It would buy an incredible amount of goodwill from gamers, and Sony could maybe even sell limited runs of older games and make a huge profit of it. But, what do I know? Number 7. Don't charge us to upgrade PS4 games to the PS5 versions. Oh, this one would drive me insane. If they charge us to upgrade our PS4 games to PS5 versions, which will have slight frame rate and resolution bumps, it would make the PlayStation 5 an instant no-buy for me. This would be an extremely anti-consumer move, and one that would absolutely baffle me. I only bring it up because I've seen other YouTubers say this is a possibility, and I really hope it's not. On PC, once I buy a game, I own it. Every time I upgrade my PC, unless it's Fallout 3, I can go back into the settings and change it to a higher frame rate and resolution along with various other graphic settings. It would just be a boneheaded move on Sony's part if they actually did this, and again, I do want to point out, I've heard no actual proof that this is a possibility, it's just speculation I've heard from others. So those are the 7 things Sony should implement if they actually want to appeal to hardcore gamers. I know there's probably a ton of other features that would be amazing to have, but I feel like these 7 would be the best. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have anything you would like to see added to the PS5, just let me know down in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.